And welcome to At Issue. I'm H. Wayne Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us as we start the 30th season of At Issue here on WTVP. It's been a nice long ride, but to start the new 30th season, I'm very pleased to have three gentlemen who have put a signature on top of Central Illinois. Amongst these three, more than 120 years of experience in driving what may be the three largest industries, if I may use that term, in the Peoria area. Let me introduce to you first Doug Oberhelman. Doug has retired as both the CEO and as the chair. Two different dates, December 31st of last year and then March 31st as the chair. After 41 years at Caterpillar, and you were the CEO and chair up named that in 2010, is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Thank you for being on the program.
Happy to be here, thank you.
And also with us is Kevin Schoeplein. Kevin is retiring at the end of this year as the CEO of OSF Healthcare and vice chair of the boards for OSF after having assumed the CEO position in 2011.
Correct.
Thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
And also with us, another Doug. We have Doug's side by side. Doug Stewart is here. Doug retired just
40 days ago.
Well, as we taped this 40 days ago, it'll be 2 months by the time this airs, on June 30th as the regional president of PNC Bank after 44 years. So congratulations to all three of you. We'll be doing three programs. The first one will be talking a little bit about their early history, and then we'll be talking about some of the challenges, and then we'll be talking in program 3 about the future of Central Illinois, their take on the weaknesses and strengths of our community. But let's start with history. We're going to start with Doug Oberhelman. I may have to use full names here to differentiate, but
Doug Cat and Doug Bank maybe or something.
Okay,
I don't know.
Doug Cat then. I want to find out how you chose your profession, because you stayed in it for your entire careers, and today that's not necessarily the case. But for you, I think you had a little bit of guidance from your father.
I did, and actually I worked at a bank, and I thought I would go into banking in my early days because I started at a bank rolling pennies when I was in early high school, and I worked in a bank summers and in high school and through college. So I really thought I was kind of going to go into banking, but my dad was a John Deere salesman, and he'd always bring home really cool equipment from his dealership. And I could crawl around on that as a kid, and sometimes I'd go out with him as he sold equipment. So I was comfortable around machinery and equipment. And then I went to school at Milliken down in Decatur. A fellow came around who was really a great recruiter for CAT, and he and I hit it off, and still talk to him once in a while even after all these years. And that's what got me going. I drove in here on Interstate 74 in June of 1975, came down the hill and went to work.
Did your dad ever forgive you for going from green to yellow?
Well, we've had interesting conversations over the year. He gives me John Deere stuff at Christmas, and I give him CAT stuff at Christmas. And I do have a little shelf in my office of green John Deere equipment, which is fine. And John Deere's a great company. Let's face it. We have two of the really iconic names in the machinery business in the world.
And for you, Kevin, it was not a father but a sister who had influence.
Yeah, I was a family of 5 siblings, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. And my brothers and sisters, there was a difference between me, the youngest, and my oldest brother of 21 years. So my sister sat in the middle of 2 boys on each side, and difficult for anybody. But she really took care of me along with my parents as I grew up, and I had an affinity for her and what she represented. And she took the path of being a nurse, and she went to St. Louis and married her husband, who is a pathologist, physician. And I really wanted an opportunity to have a career that was both personally and professionally rewarding. So healthcare, I had started to have an affinity for. And so I went to St. Louis U to study pre-medicine, pre-med, with the intention early on to go into medical school. And then I took some business courses during my undergraduate time, and I found I had a dual affinity for medicine and business. And near the end of my undergraduate time at St. Louis U, I found out there was a career called healthcare administration. And my brother-in-law introduced me to that. And make a long story short, I went to completed my undergraduate degree at St. Louis U, then went to Xavier University in Cincinnati, and to gain entry into healthcare administration, at that time you had to have 1 year prior experience in healthcare, and I didn't have that. Came just quickly out of undergraduate school, so I worked in a hospital in Cincinnati as a urological assistant. And so I learned a lot during my career and early on. And at the same time, I got my MBA with a concentration in finance during that year, and then got accepted in the healthcare administration program. And it's a 2-year program with a residency. And I completed my residency in Dayton, Ohio, at a hospital there. And while I was there was an individual who was doing some work for that hospital that happened to be doing work for St. Francis here in Peoria, and knew they had an opportunity to connect the leadership here at St. Francis with me.
And you stayed at OSF. It wasn't OSF back then, but
No, it was St. Francis Medical Center, part of the Sister Theodore St. Francis. I thought job hopping was overrated, so I decided that the path that served me well was find something that I enjoy, stay with it, and be passionate around it.
and for you, Doug, you had family influence also.
I did. So I would go back and tell you, I grew up in a small town of 500 people. In fact, thank God our high school merged so that I could have 35 in my graduating class. I tell you that as a little bit of background in terms of how I got into banking.
Let me guess, Cullum.
Cullum is right. And actually that merger allowed me to go from not being in the top 10% of the class to being in the top 10% of the class. So.
That's 3.5 people.
That's right. So my father was the town mortician, but he also happened to be be on the board of the bank, and that was in that small town. And I worked there for a couple of summers, so I had a background in banking. Went off to Illinois Wesleyan, a competitor of Millikan down in Bloomington. And the point I'm trying to make here is that I was a small town guy, and so small town, small university, and as I went through what was a really good liberal arts education, which I will forever be thankful for, jobs were actually plentiful when I graduated from college, and I had offers from Caterpillar and GE and Ford, and was accepted in law school. But then this bank in Peoria, Illinois, 400 strong in terms of employees, had a training program that only took 2 people, and I was sort of angling for I'd rather try and be a bigger fish in a smaller pond than otherwise. Again, my background, if you will. And so I went to Commercial National Bank in June of 1973, was one of those 2 trainees, and that's how I got into banking.
Let me ask all 3 of you, from your perspective, what qualities do you possess that allowed you to become the CEO or regional president? What do you think allowed you to rise to the top?
Well, at least in those days, it was more about interpersonal skills, understanding people, understanding the task of the job, and working with people to get it done. And I think that a large part of the college education that I got was learning about different types of people, how to work with them. And the training program that I went through was the same way, because I went through all of the areas of the bank, including starting as a teller. And then as my career progressed and I felt like I needed more specialization, if you will, I went back later and got an MBA and got sort of the technical training. But the skills and the education I learned that helped me work with people, because we don't make tractors, we sell services, and that's all about being a people business.
Doug, let me ask, because the other Doug, I'm going to have a problem here.
Yeah, that's all right.
He mentioned knowing a little bit about all divisions of the bank. You worked in a lot of different areas of Caterpillar, and that's particularly important as it's a huge company. You need to know a little bit about every aspect.
Yes, that's true, and I think Doug's exactly right. There's an awful lot to leadership and just being a good employee to interpersonal skills. I mean, we all know people that don't have them and can't get along with others, and typically most of them don't rise very far in any organization or institution. In my case, for some reason, and I can't really track why this happened, but I really was interested in global business and global economies. And it may be that my second job at Caterpillar was foreign currency trading right here in Peoria, 5th floor. And of course, in 1975, which is when I was doing that, the dollar had just floated. The gold standard had just been released a few years earlier. We were trading 8 to 9 active currencies, and I can remember going to my little house and setting my alarm clock. I was all of 23 years old, for 2 o'clock in the morning to put a call into Geneva to trade whatever European currency we were trading at the time. And I thought that was really cool. And that really sparked a deep interest in global business and global exposure. And of course, that's then what I did, because I've been assigned living all over the world. And I think that really gave me a great perspective on Caterpillar.
And primarily you moved up on the financial side. You were the treasurer at one point. So how does a finance person become the CEO of a company that's in engineering, power systems, and mining, things of that nature?
We've actually had a number of finance guys as CEOs, all the way back to George Schaefer was a finance guy, a famous guy. Bill Blackie was a finance guy. Jim Owens was a finance guy. So there's probably been more finance guys after the early years where it was all about engineering and development than others. But I didn't really consider myself a finance person. I had a lot of field jobs where I was representing Caterpillar. I lived in South America. My boss was in Peoria. I was the only one living in the country. So I had to represent Cat in a lot of different areas. And that, I think, helped me as well. But certainly finance gave me the core. I moved to Japan in 1991 as CFO of that joint venture we had with the Japanese, and that was a wonderful experience. And I think then after that, of course, you rise to a vice president level at Caterpillar. You're really, at that time, broadening. And I had a sales and marketing job, and then I learned a lot about engines and how an engine worked, and diesel and emissions regulations, and one thing leads to another. And I always aspired to be, and I kidded our engineers all the time, that I wanted to be the engineer without a degree that you all look up to as the engineer. I never quite made it, but I always would be just enough to be dangerous.
But you'd walk through Mossville every once in a while just to look at engines.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, all the time. I'd sit in on presentations, and I'd always try and ask not too dumb of a question to make them all think I knew something about it. But I never made the grade as an engineer without a degree.
What leadership skills do you think that you possess that brought you to the top of OSF?
I agree with both Doug's in the comments about creating teams and the importance of teams, the ability to have good people around us. I think all of us have been blessed to have great people that preceded us, that really made our jobs easier, and framed the opportunities that were presented to ourselves, and as well as our opportunity to be able to identify talent, grow talent, and put the right people in the right place. I think, though, that even at a very basic level, I think leadership requires integrity, and I think that's really something that is basic to any leadership, that leadership has and people have a sense of integrity in leadership. So I think that's really critical in any leadership role. And I think we have people here, both Doug's absolutely, that are prime examples of integrity, both in personal and professional life. So,
mentioning that situation, how important, how did you judge other people so that you could surround yourself with the right people to make sure that PNC moved forward in the direction that it needed to go?
Well, I think the first thing is that you don't necessarily want people around you that are just like you. and are necessarily yes people. But you also want people who, of high integrity, as Kevin said, who are enthusiastic about the company, have vision and bring ideas, push back, but at the same time, once decisions are made, it's all ahead full for the institution, and carrying that message. So much of what I think is important is that the views, the direction of a corporation gets all the way through that corporation. And that's what the people surrounding you, in my opinion, is one of their most important jobs, is to make sure that people understand where we're going and why we're going there.
And you, in a much larger company, had to surround yourself with the right people, but some of those were already in place. You just don't arbitrarily get rid of a group president or a vice president. But my question to you is, how did you know that you were making the right decision for the good of the company and hearing from those people that are in the trenches? Did you reach down that far?
Yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And this I learned as I became CEO and worked through it for almost 8 years. But that at CAT, even though we have 100,000 employees and 30 some officers, vice presidents at any given time, it was very evident if we had a weak link at that level. And it didn't take you very long to figure that out. When I came in as CEO in late 09, actually the announcement was made in October of 09, we formed a really important group around strategy and what are we going to do for the future, what do we want to be when we grow up, with my team of leaders. And we decided at that time, after about 4 months of intense study of what we wanted to do, what our strengths and weaknesses were, that we did not have the right players. And we actually dismissed, retired, or otherwise, 20% of the vice presidents at that time. That's forgotten today, fortunately, but it was so painful. It had never been done at Caterpillar before. And we did that for several reasons, because we wanted to send a call that we were serious about making change, we were serious about getting the right people, and we were serious about a long-term future. And that really shook up the ranks, as you can imagine. Then the next level down, which was about the next 300, we were just under 20% in changes in the next 3 or 4 months. So we made a wholesale changing of the guard at that period of time, but it really served us well as we grew from, at that time, coming out of the Great Recession in 09, grew to 66 billion, and then in the last 5 years since then, shrunk back to 40 billion. And that served us so well because we had a very cohesive group that was tightly organized and tightly structured. But that's what we needed to do at that time. But it was painful, and that's the hardest thing that a leader has to do.
And we'll talk more about that in the
Sure,
next program
sure,
in
sure.
a week from now. But
Sure.
surrounding yourself with the right leadership.
That's the point, that you have to have people that are loyal to the cause. Not necessarily loyal to you as much, like Doug said, but loyal to the cause, know where you're going, and then execute and deliver. And that's really what it's about as a CEO in the early days, I think.
So you answer to the sisters.
Yes.
And you have to follow the mission of the sisters. So how much latitude do you have in making those kinds of decisions in terms of surrounding yourself with the right people, or do you get a lot of your input from the sisters?
Well, first of all, in terms of following the mission, that's why I joined healthcare as a profession. I joined the sisters because it was more about that. I embraced the mission of the sisters. It was good for me, and I felt comfortable in that environment, and I felt it was the right thing to do, especially in healthcare. And so that was it's easy for me and for all of our mission partners to follow the sisters' mission. It's the opportunity for us to care, the healing ministry of Christ, to care for our patients and our communities. It's really a good thing, an easy thing for people to do. We have an organization at OSF that really, if you're an individual that the mission that really frames our culture, if that's not something that you feel comfortable, it's something you personally you wouldn't feel comfortable being part of. And we have a lot of great people, and so it's easy for people in healthcare to gravitate to a system like ours that really puts the patient first, that understands the importance of not only the patient but those that are most vulnerable.
I want
And-
to
yeah.
expand on mission, if I
Yeah.
may, and expand that to outside of your organization that you headed. How did you characterize to your employees and the bank or Caterpillar as a whole, how did you indicate that you wanted to be part of the community, volunteerism, financial volunteerism, personal volunteerism? How did you tell your employees that's important to be part of the community?
Well, it was a part of the culture when I joined Commercial National Bank in 1973. Part of my job description was that I was to be involved in the community. And when I signed the form about how many deductions you want from your paycheck, you also signed your United Way Fair Share card at the same time. So the message was loud and clear. If you didn't quite understand why, you at least knew what the expectation was. And I will tell you that just by being introduced to being in the community as a loan executive for the United Way, what I began to realize very quickly, particularly when you are a local bank and these are all your customers, soon to become friends, etc., using the volunteerism as a way to get to know them in sort of a different light was really important to me personally. Learning management and leadership skills, you can learn as much in a volunteer organization that's not as structured as you can within the four walls of your institution. And a big part of what I love doing, but also a big part of, if you will, the training that I got along the way, was because I became involved.
And for you, Kevin, you already talked a bit about mission, so it's kind of
Yeah.
ingrained in your employees, but how did you spread the word that, hey, there are opportunities outside of the walls of OSF?
We have many communities that we serve in Illinois and Michigan, and really, if you frame the understanding, this is the communities that we live in is where we live, work, and play, and if we want it to be a great community for ourselves, our family, great school system, a vibrant and economic engine of growth of our communities, then we have a responsibility to be able to engage in that agenda. And we have an accountability. So if we want to have people that recruit physicians and others from across the country, we want them to want to come here because we think it's a great place to live, work, and live. And so we have an obligation, not only for ourselves, but for our organization to create our communities that are great communities to work and live. So.
And for you, Doug, and I may add a personal note here, you are a duck hunter. And it's not surprising that you personally were involved with the Nature Conservancy, the Wetlands Organization. Mm-hmm. So you have a personal interest in the environment, but how did you make sure that your employees, whatever their interest may be, did reach outside of the walls?
There's no question that, like OSF and like Doug's banks, the legacy from Caterpillar is there in the community, and it was just something you take over and nurture. We did a lot of that as CEO. We become involved in things, but I made it a little more personal for a lot of our folks, because sometimes young folks or new folks to Caterpillar would come to me and say, how do I differentiate myself? And I would kind of go through the normal things that Caterpillar you have to do and so on and so forth. But I'll tell you another reason, and that is if you join and get involved in an outside activity, one of our charitable organizations in town or the region, chances are you're going to hobnob with a Doug Stewart or a Kevin Shepline. And chances are, if you make an impression with them, Doug is going to come to me and say, hey, do you know that young lady out there, such and such, who's on the Easter Seals board? She's impressive. And in that way, you can really add to the community, you can get something back, and also in many cases help your career along a little bit as well. Because let's face it, in my extracurricular activities like these, I meet a lot of people I don't see during my workday, and good, solid people that are helping these organizations. And so it's a real give and take. And I've always, I think, taken more from these organizations than I've given, for sure. And it's like Doug said, I've learned an awful lot in helping these places. And you work for free, essentially. And it's a great thing for the individual, and a great thing for the organization, and a great thing for the community, no question. And I think a great thing for Caterpillar in our case.
And you really walk away.
And 10 seconds.
And you really walk away having an impact and making a
Yeah,
difference.
yeah,
And,
I agree
and
with
that.
that.
Feels good personally too.
Yeah.
So.
And with that, that is the first of our 3 programs with the 3 retirees, if I may recall you. You're not quite there yet.
That's okay. You can
Let
cover
me,
that.
let me say
He'll enjoy it, I'll tell you.
Doug Oberhelman of Caterpillar, and Doug Stewart of PNC Bank, and Kevin Shepline of OSF Healthcare. Is that the
That's
proper
correct.
name now? And we thank you for joining us on At Issue. Next time, we'll be back with the same 3 gentlemen talking about the changes and challenges in their chosen fields. Join us then.